My loyalty to this nation, its people, and the Constitution hasn't changed and will never change as long as I have a breath to give. My loyalty is absolute, and I will not turn my back on the fallen. With respect to the Chinese calls, I routinely communicated with my counterpart, General Lee, with the knowledge and coordination of civilian oversight. I am specifically directed to communicate with the Chinese by Department of Defense guidance, the policy dialogue system. These military-to-military communications at the highest level are critical to the security of the United States in order to deconflict military actions, manage crisis, and prevent war between great powers that are armed with the world's most deadliest weapons. The calls on 30 October and 8 January were coordinated before and after with Secretary Esper and Acting Secretary Miller's staffs and the interagency. The specific purpose of the October and January calls were generated by concerning intelligence, which caused us to believe the Chinese were worried about an attack on them by the United States. I am certain that President Trump did not intend to attack the Chinese, and it is my directed responsibility, and it was my directed responsibility by the Secretary to convey that intent to the Chinese. My task at that time was to de-escalate. My message again was consistent. Stay calm, steady, and de-escalate. We are not going to attack you. At Secretary of Defense Esper's direction, I made a call to General Lee on 30 October. 8 people sat in that call with me, and I read out the call within 30 minutes of the call ending. On 31 December, the Chinese requested another call with me. The Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Asia-Pacific Policy helped coordinate my call, which was then scheduled for 8 January, and he made a preliminary call on 6 January. 11 people attended that call with me, and readouts of this call were distributed to the interagency that same day. Shortly after my call ended with General Lee, I personally informed both Secretary of State Pompeo and White House Chief of Staff Meadows about the call, among other topics. Soon after that, I attended a meeting with Acting Secretary Miller where I briefed him on the call.
The top US general secretly called his Chinese counterpart twice during the presidency of Donald Trump. That's according to a Washington Post report on Tuesday. US General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, called General Li Zhuchang of the People's Liberation Army on October 30th last year and again on January 8th, 2 days after the storming of the US Capitol, over concerns that then-President Donald Trump could spark a war with China, the newspaper reported. The report draws on reporting from a new book, PERIL, based on interviews with over 200 sources. It is due to be released next week. Trump, in a statement, cast doubt on the story, calling it fabricated. He said if the story was true, Milley would be tried for treason. Milley's office declined to comment. Republican Senator Marco Rubio called on President Joe Biden, a Democrat, to immediately fire Milley. The White House has declined to comment on the report. The Washington Post reported that Milley was motivated to contact Beijing the second time, in part due to a call with U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who had asked the general what safeguards were in place to prevent a, quote, unstable president from launching a nuclear strike.
Chris Miller, who served as acting defense secretary during the final 2 months of the Trump presidency, said he never authorized Milley's contacts with China and called Milley's actions, quote, a disgraceful and unprecedented act of insubordination, adding that Milley must resign immediately. But ABC News has learned Milley was not the first Pentagon official to reach out to China. It was actually former Defense Secretary Mark Esper who first reached out to China shortly before the election to assure them the United States would not launch a military attack. Milley's first contact came after that and was authorized by then Secretary Esper, a top former defense official told ABC News.